cotangent. Okay, we will not be using the inverse sine, inverse cosine, or inverse tangent yet. Okay, those are only for if you are asked to find an angle measurement and you're given two sides. Okay, these do not represent like cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, we do have to change the mode that we're in. So everyone press the mode button. Our first, 4 or 5 examples are in degrees. Most of you are probably in radians. Bless you. So you need to arrow down over to degrees, bless you, and hit enter. So it's bold and blinking on the degrees. Okay, now when we get to, and some students say, how do we know if it's supposed to be in degrees? You'll see a degree symbol. Radians doesn't have a degree symbol, and it has a pi. So if it has pi in it, you need to change back to radian. All right. So the first 3, they're just asking us, can we get this, or the first 2, can we get the same answer together? So sine 40, and we're rounding to the nearest 10,000, so 3 decimal places out, so 0.643. Is anyone not getting 0.643 on their calculator? I want everyone to make sure you're trying it on your own calculator today. Don't just watch. All right, cosine of 18. 0.951. Yes? Okay. Oops. Also touch the board. Oops. Oops. All right, now these are not on your calculator. So you have to use a formula from the front of your formula sheet, which were these. The cosecant is equal to 1 divided by the sine. So this is how you'll type it in the calculator. 1 divided by sine. This one happens to be pi halves, but we're going to do it with degrees. So for cosecant, write in your notes so that you know when you're looking back at them. In your calculator, you're going to put in 1 divided by sine. Your calculator will automatically put an open parenthesis for you. It just automatically shows up. You'll type in a -28. You really don't have to close the parenthesis if you're going to hit enter right away, but most of you will close it just because it looks better. So 1 divided by sine. Make sure you do a negative, not a minus, because it will give you the wrong answer. So negative 2.13. See if you guys can do D and E. So we have the secant, which will be 1 divided by cosine, and the cotangent, which will be 1 divided by tan. And round to the nearest 1,000. Cotangent of 99. You can give me that one. Someone else? Kara? You got it. And that would be 1 divided by tan 99. All right, now put a big box around the next 3. We need to change our calculator mode to radians. Now on your homework, some of you will like to just go through and do every problem that's degrees. Skip over the radians. Then go back, change the radians, and then do all the radians. That way you don't have to change back and forth and back and forth. So again, we press the mode button. Mode, down to radians. Enter until it's bold and blinking on radians. Again, to get out of this menu, you press the quit button. Second mode will get you back to your home screen. Or you could probably turn it off and back on. All right, now for secant, remember that's 1 divided by cosine. And the pi key, how do I get the pi key? Second and above our division symbol, we have the caret. Pi divided by 3. Again, you don't have to close the parenthesis because you're not typing anything else afterwards, but if you were putting like plus something, the cosine is 1/2. The secant is then 2/1. Some of these you could get out of the chart, but some of them you won't be able to because we don't have 18 in our chart. All right, cosecant, what am I going to type in my calculator? 1 divided by sine. 11 pi divided by 6. -2. Is anyone not getting these answers? Try the last one on your own. And then we're going to skip over example 2A and B because they're in degrees. We're going to do the radians one while we're in radians. Then we'll come back to degrees. Who has an answer for me? Jonah? -1. Got it. All right, so that was just the basic trig function, typing it in. Now we're going to add operations with trig functions. So multiplying, adding. You'll actually notice these questions are the same ones from yesterday. But yesterday we had to do them with the chart by hand. This time we're doing it with the calculator. We should get the same answer. Although yesterday we left it in like radical form, like 2 squared to 3. Today we'll get decimal form. All right, do you want to do C and D while we're in radian mode? Yeah. And then we'll go back and do A and B. That way we don't have to change as much. On the back it's degrees also. So let's do C first. Now I'm going to write out on the board what I'm putting in my calculator. You might want to put it on your notes because there's a lot of parentheses needed to group things. All right, we see that these two things are being added together. So in your calculator, you need to make sure that you tell it to do the order of operations. Now, some students will say, Mrs. Bennett, can I do this part and then this part and then add them? Sure, but you cannot round. So you'd have to write out every decimal here, and so I don't suggest it. So I will type this whole thing in my calculator, one line, hit enter. Secant is 1 divided by cosine, so we have to put parenthesis. 1 divided by cosine. Now remember, your calculator automatically puts a parenthesis for you. So we have to type in then pi divided by 4. But you need to close the parenthesis 2 times. Once for the angle, once to close the big parenthesis. And mine are looking bigger on the board. On your calculator, they're going to be all the same size parentheses. Okay, then a plus sign, excuse me. Another parenthesis, 2 times. And cosecant, you don't really have to put parentheses around it. If you want to, it won't hurt to put another set of 1 divided by. It's up to you. But 1 divided by, not cosecant, sine. Of pi thirds. Now again, after you type the sine key, your calculator puts this open parenthesis. So you'll have to close the angle and then close the whole group. Okay? And then I want everyone to try typing these in because that will be part of your grade on your quiz on Friday. Should be getting 3.724. If you're not getting that, raise your hand. I'll come around and look at your calculator. Give pi over 2 instead of pi over 4. So give a second enter. We good on C then? All right, D. Now these are all multiplications. So since you don't have to multiply before you multiply, it's all the same. So you really don't need to group these if you don't want to. So it could just be 3 times. I usually put parenthesis for a 1 divided by tangent, but you really don't need it necessarily. But I just always do. 3 times 1 divided by tangent of pi fourths. Close once for the angle, close another time for your cotangent. And then we'll have times 5 times the cosecant. Cosecant is 1 divided by what? Sine. This one's pi halves, close cosine and sine are in the calculator, so you can literally type it in as is if you want. You can group these if you'd also like to. You don't have to. You'll get the same answer either way because it doesn't have any division where we have to do 1 divided by sine. So you could type it in without the parentheses and it'll work. I'll show that one up here too. So 4 cosine of 45. Now the only thing is you have to close the parenthesis after the angle. Because your calculator automatically puts that one there, you have to close it. Minus 2 sine 45. Should get 1.414. So again, you can do the parentheses or not do the parentheses there just because we didn't have any of this division going on. And then put some stars next to B. This is the hardest one. Anytime there's a squared, you have to use more parentheses than usual. Okay. So tangent is in our calculator, so that's easy, but we have to do 1 plus parenthesis tangent. Again, your calculator will automatically put a parenthesis. You put 30. You have to close it once. You have to close it again. Then put your squared. So that you're squaring the tangent of 30. Okay, minus secant is 1 divided by cosine. So parenthesis, 1 divided by cosine. And calculator gives you an open parenthesis. You fill in 30. You close it once. You close it twice. And you square it. So everyone try that on your calculator. If you do it, you'll get a nice, clean whole number of nothing. Now you can still use like the formulas from the front. You have to remember tangent squared minus secant squared is, or no, that's not 1. 1 plus tangent squared is 1. Would be secant squared, and secant squared minus secant squared will get you 0. So like sometimes if you use different tactics that we've done before. All right, on the back then, is everyone getting 0? I'm sure? Okay. On the back then, you're going to see some geometry / physics type problems. Applying SOHCAHTOA to picture problems, where you're actually going to use the sine of the angle equals something. And we'll solve. All right, so you have 2 types of angles in the word problems. You have an angle of elevation, which will go from the horizontal up to your line of sight. Or you have your angle of depression, which a lot of you will put the depression here, but it actually goes from like your line of sight and then down to where you're now looking. Who remembers what type of angles those are from geometry? If we know that these 2 horizontal lines are parallel. You're right.
Alternate interior.
Yes, these are alternate interior angles. And we know if lines parallel, alternate interior angles have to be congruent. So these will always be the same. So if you know one of them, you know the other. You can always move them, copy and paste from one angle to the next if it helps you to problem solve. Now today's examples are easy because I give you the picture. Tomorrow we're going to practice not having a picture and drawing it on our own. Okay? So we have a kite. The string is 150 feet long, makes an angle of 45 degrees. Assuming the string is straight, how high is the kite? Anytime they ask you for height, it has to be a perpendicular distance to the ground. So we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. You want to label the sides, not all 3 of them, only the ones that have a number or a variable on it. Okay, so based on 45 being my angle, what would I label x? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite. It's a cross. Do not label this adjacent. It will confuse you. You don't know what the number or variable is, so don't label it. This is then my hypotenuse. So only label the 2 sides. Which trig function has O and H? Sine. Okay. So we know sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. So we fill in, instead of sine theta, we'll have sine of 45. Equals, the opposite is x, the hypotenuse is 150. We're remembering this from geometry? Or physics, or both. Now you just have to solve using inverse opposite operations. We see x divided by 150. The inverse of dividing is multiplying. So we're going to multiply by 150 on both sides to balance our equation. And then this just goes in your calculator. So we'll just type in 150 sine 45. Now we should be in degree mode because we just did degrees on the front. But if not, you would change back. And we'll round to the nearest 3 decimal places again, thousandths place. So we'll say that x is approximately 106.066. And for the word problems, you should have feet since they were, or units since they were given, feet. So it's just SOHCAHTOA, but actually solving using SOHCAHTOA in our calculator. Okay, last one. Pictures given. A plane is flying at an altitude of 12,000 meters. Again, altitude is height, so that's always perpendicular distance. The pilot sees an angle of depression to the airport tower. Again, angle of depression will go down from the line of sight originally to the new line of sight. They want to know how far is the tower from a point directly below. So that's why it's here. If they said how far is it from the tower, it would be the hypotenuse, but it says from a point directly below. So that's x. So you'll notice 32 is not in the triangle that we see. So you have two options. You can either construct another triangle by drawing a 12,000 over here, kind of creating a rectangle, and then you'd have two triangles. Or you can use your alternate interior angles to move the 32 down here. And actually there's another option too. We know these two angles will be complementary. So if you wanted to, you could do 90 minus 32 and find out your other angle. So 3 ways you could solve. Okay, based on the way I've done it so far, what would 12,000 be? Hypotenuse, opposite, or adjacent? Opposite, it's across. And it's not my hypotenuse. That's the hypotenuse, but don't label it. So that makes this my adjacent. What trig function has O and A? Tan. It's the TOA. Okay, now we'll actually take the tangent of 32 equals opposite 12,000 over adjacent x. And then this is the one that's harder to solve than the previous. It takes 2 steps. A lot of you will tell me to divide by 12,000. That's not right, because you would then be left with 1 over x, and that's not what you want. You want to know what x is. So you will undo division of x with multiplication of x. Just like we did in the last one. We're going to multiply by x on both sides. So that undoes those. Now we have x times tan 32 equals 12,000. Last step is to undo multiplication with division. So you'll divide by tan 32, which looks weird, but remember, that's just a decimal, like a big long decimal number. And then this goes in our calculator. 12,000 divided by tan 32, we'll get 19,204. Units will be just meters. See if you can try the closure. You're solving for x, which is like along the wall. I know it is. This is x right here. I don't know what it's colorblind with red green here, so let's see that. Let me record. Alright, so based on this, across from my 15, this would be my opposite side, and this would be my hypotenuse. Again, do not label this adjacent. Don't do it. Because otherwise you won't know what trig function to pick. So you'll have to see all the letters. So we have O and H, so that's sine. Then plug in the numbers, the letters, the angles. So we have sine of 15 equals opposite is x, hypotenuse is 12. operation do I see? What's its inverse? I see division. The inverse is multiplication. And then this just goes in our calculator, assuming that we're in degree mode.